stretching our legs, finding our sitting bones into our mats, taking a few deep breaths in through our nose and out from our mouths, pushing that breath all the way down into our low belly, opening up in our spine, pulling the shoulders back, lifting from the top of the head. Bringing our focus inward, checking in with how we are feeling right now, and continually listening to our body as we practice today. Good, and inhale, lengthen in that spine. Exhale, we're just going to turn our head over toward the right. Take a couple of breaths here. We're not forcing it, we're just turning it a little bit. Tiny twist in the end of the neck. And then inhale back to the center. And then exhale, we'll just bring that chin around to the other side. As we exhale, just let those shoulders drop away from our ears. And inhaling back to the center. And then we'll lift the nose, open up in the front with our throat all the way down to our chest. And then slowly we'll just lower that chin all the way down to the chest. Keeping the rest of our back nice and straight and just curling the top of our neck. And then back up to the top. And then we're just going to lower our ear over toward the left. And then with our right hand, we have a couple of choices. We can reach out toward the floor if we would like to help lower that right shoulder away. Or if you would like, you can reach back behind, try and touch the opposite hip. Slowly we'll come back up to the center and exhale over to the other side. Just let the head drop. Use that gravity to help bring the head toward the right shoulder. And again, let gravity help the left shoulder lower away. And then back up to the center. Let's inhale, lifting the hands up high. Stretching those fingers all the way up to the sky, dropping the shoulder away from our ears, and then opening up in this low back. We don't want to arch quite yet. Just to lengthen. Good. And then exhale, we're just going to fold forward. Bringing our hands down to our mats. Chests are relaxing. Lowering down. Good. And while we're here, let's walk those hands around to the right. Reaching across our body with that left hand. Keeping those sitting bones both pressing into our mats. And slowly, we'll just walk those hands all the way around to the left side. And let's bring those hands back to the center. Lengthen on the inhale, exhale. Let's creepy crawl those fingers forward just a little bit more. Lower the chest. And then slowly as we inhale, we'll walk those hands back towards us, rolling our way up. Hands come up high. And now exhale, let's bring those arms to like a goalpost or a cactus arm. We'll lift the chest and now we'll arch just a little bit in the spine. And then exhale, we'll round and give ourselves a hug. Inhale, we'll arch into those little cactus arms. And exhale, we'll round and give ourselves a hug. One more time. Inhale, little arch. Exhale, we'll round and give ourselves a hug. We can even use those fingers, help the shoulders down, tucking the chin. We'll just continue to round. Hands can come down to our mats and just roll up into a little ball. Good. Rolling our way back up. We'll take this left leg and bring it back behind us into our deer pose here. So our right leg is parallel to the top of our mat. Left leg is back behind us. Foot is tucked towards our bottom. And then the hands will come right in front of that front leg, flexing the right foot, letting those hips settle into it for a couple of breaths. Feel where we are right now. And then exhale, if we would like, we can continue to walk those hands forward. Lower down to our elbows, or we can come all the way down to a fold. And then inhale, we'll walk those hands back. And now hands will come back behind us and we'll concentrate on that left knee pressing down into our mats. We'll pull the shoulders back, lengthen in the quad, in the front of the hip, opening up the chest. We can stay on our hands. We can come down to our elbows or again, fold all the way down. But you know, like I always say, don't forget we have to get back up. And I forgot my little beepy necklace, so. And now let's help ourselves back up to the top. From here, lengthen all the way along in the spine. Turn around. And we're just going to walk our hands around to the right. Nothing super huge, just a little twist. Staying up on our hands, we'll only be here for 3 breaths or so. Good, and then back around to the center. And now let's take this left leg and we'll bring it out in front for Janu Shirshasana. We'll bring the right foot in toward that left thigh. Find the sitting bones. Inhale. Lengthen all the way up to the sky. We're going to turn toward this left leg and then exhale, little forward fold here. And inhale, coming on up. We'll bend both knees, bring them into our chest. And then we'll switch sides. So we'll lower that left leg down. Right leg will tuck back behind. Take a couple of breaths here. Just let those hips settle in. And then when we're ready, if we would like, we can walk those hands forward, gradually folding. Slowly we'll help ourselves back up to the top. Hands come back behind us, pressing the right knee into our mats, lengthening throughout the quad, and tuck the tail a little bit, open up the chest, lower ourselves back down to wherever we are on the side today. And then we'll come on up. Nice and tall here. And then a little twist to the left, walking those hands around. We lengthen on the inhales. We twist on the exhales. And then we'll come back around. Bring that right leg forward in towards our Janu Shirshasana. Finding the sitting bones again. Inhale, lifting, and we'll turn toward that right leg. And exhale, hinging forward. Little fold here. And then helping ourselves back up. We'll bend both knees, give ourselves a little wiggle if we need. And then we'll swish those feet around and we'll come onto our hands and our knees. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Knees are just about hip width apart. And then exhale, let's round into a cat, lifting nice and high. And inhale, cow. And exhaling, cat. And inhaling, cow. Good. Back to our neutral spine, nice and long, especially in that low back. Let's lengthen that right leg back behind us. We'll flex the foot, point the toes down, and press into the mat for a little calf stretch here first. And then we'll lift those toes and bring that foot all the way around to our hands. But what we'll be doing is doing like a little lunge with 90-degree angles on both of our legs instead of a nice deep lunge. So little lunge here, and can still stay on the mat. Breathing into that tummy, all around into our torso, making sure that we're active in that core. And then exhale, we're just going to lower our bums back toward the heel. We won't get all the way back there with our hands here. We won't probably get a full straight leg, and that's totally fine. And then inhale, we'll come forward. And then exhale, back. Inhaling forward, still breathing into that belly. Keeping a nice flat back. And exhaling back. Good. Let's inhale forward. Find that good spot where our knee is over our ankle and our hip is over our back knee. Inhale, lift up that right hand. And back down. And now let's lift up both hands nice and high. Tuck that butt in just a little bit. Lift the heart, drop the shoulders. Good. And now we can lower the right hand to the knee if we would like. We're just going to tilt toward the right with that left hand. Lengthen in the spine. Exhale over to the side. Good. And back up to the top. Both hands nice and high. Good. And then a little turn toward the left, and we're going to bring that right elbow to the inside of the right leg. We can just kind of hover it. If we can get it down to the floor, cool, whatever. We've got a block. Good, and then we'll lower that left hand down, back to the lunge. Good, and now from here, I'm gonna turn again. Inhale, hands up high. Bringing that left hip forward, opening up in that low back, lifting the heart, little arch in the back. We can begin to reach behind. If we would like, we can open up into a little goalpost if that's easier on our shoulders. And then inhale, back up. Exhale, hands come all the way down. We'll step back into our tabletop. Exhale, rounding the spine. Cat. Inhaling cow. Good, one more time. Exhaling cat. Inhaling cow. Good, back to that neutral spine. Breathing into the belly. Use those fingers. Poke at yourself every once in a while. Make sure that we're strong here instead of a little squishy. And now lengthen in that left leg, and we'll point those toes down to the mat and press the heel away for our calf stretch. Good, and then we'll lift those toes up and bring them all the way around towards our hands. Hands are to the inside of that left foot. Knee is underneath of our right hip. Left knee is over the ankle. Think about finding that flat back so we're not rounding and looking towards our tummies. We're actually looking just past our fingers. Shoulders are back. Bellies are nice and tight. Good, and now let's lift up the left hand, little twist. And back down. Good, hands stay on the floor inside that leg. Let's exhale, and we'll shift those hips backwards. Keeping our left toes on the mat. And then inhale, we'll come forward, just little rocks back and forth. Good. Inhaling, we'll come forward. And then bringing those hands nice and high. Lifting those fingers, dropping the shoulders. Tucking that butt in just a little bit, which will open up the front of that right hip even more. Good and strong and stable here. We can lower the left hand down, and we'll just tilt or sway over toward the left with that right hand. Still keeping the length all along in that spine, so we're not going to collapse in that left side. And then inhaling, both hands come up high. Good. We'll turn to the right a little bit and we'll lower that left hand down to the inside of that left leg. Can be here, can be here. We can come all the way down to the floor. We'll find where we're at today. A little twist here. And then exhaling, both hands can find their spot. Back down here. Left leg will come back. Find our tabletop, pressing into those fingers. Let's round. And then we'll inhale. Good. Exhaling, rounding. Inhale, we'll arch. Good. Back to that neutral spine. Pressing into those knees, into the fingers, breathing into the belly. Let's lift up the left hand. And exhale, let's thread the needle. Let's bring it through underneath that right arm, lowering that shoulder down in towards our mat, listening with that left ear. And then the right arm can come out long. We can wiggle those fingers around to the left to help open up the shoulders a little bit more in that twist. And we'll slowly unwind. Find our tabletop again. And second side, lifting up the right hand. And then when we're ready, exhaling, threading it through. Again, lowering the shoulder down into our mats, resting our head. Keeping those hips centered over our knees or our heels. And then slowly we'll unwind. Find that tabletop again. Keeping those hips over our knees. Let's walk our hands out nice and long. Chest will come forward and slowly lower down for puppy dog pose. So arms are out in front of us. Shoulders, we try and soften as we sink that chest down. And then gently, let's walk those hands back. We'll sink the hips back and we'll come into our child's pose. So rounding in the spine this time. We can even tuck our chin. Arms can be out in front of us, or we can even bring them back towards our toes. And then bring those arms out in front if we haven't already. And we'll inhale into a little plank. So now our shoulders are over our wrists. We're going to lengthen those legs just a little bit. Sink the hips down toward the mat. Pull the shoulders back. Nice proud chest. Good. And now let's tuck those toes behind us. Press into our hands. Lift our hips up to the sky and press back into a downward facing dog. Bend the knees. Pedal the feet. Wag our tails. Little happy puppies. Good. And then we'll lift up that right leg and we'll bend the knee, bringing it into our chest. Shifting forward, and we'll place that right knee behind our right wrist for pigeon pose. Flexing this right foot in the front, we'll soften the left foot back behind us. Thinking about this left hip though, bringing it forward so that both of our hips are even with the front of our mats and level with the earth. And as usual, after a few breaths, if we would like, we can walk those hands forward, come down onto our elbows. But as we walk forward, our chest is going to come forward so we can keep a nice long back. And we're hinging at those hips that are still even and level. Now, keeping our chests low, we're going to walk those hands around to the left, keeping the hips where they are, just moving the shoulders, opening up, maybe a little bit further into the outside of that right hip. Creating space in our side body. And then back to the center. And all the way up. Hands are planted strongly into our mats. We're going to tuck that left toe back behind us and press back into a downward facing dog. Pedal again. Give ourselves a bit of a wiggle waggle. Other side, let's lift up that left leg. We'll bend the knee, shift forward, and place it behind the left wrist. Taking some time to get ourselves situated here. Hips are even and flat like the earth. Breath is definitely a tool, so use it as we lengthen. We inhale and lengthen, exhale, we'll relax in the body, let ourselves settle into that pose, be a little bit deeper. And don't forget that progress may not be like visually perceptible, like millimeters of progress is still progress. And then lengthen on that inhale. Exhale, we'll walk our hands around to the right, keeping the hips where they are, just opening up a little bit more maybe in that left outer hip. And then slowly we'll come back to the center. We'll help ourselves back up. Tuck the right toe behind us. Press into those hands, lift with the core, and step back into our downward facing dog. Give ourselves that wiggle. And then with little tiny steps, pressing our whole foot into the mat as we step forward, all the way up to our hands into a forward fold. Once we get up to our hands, we can release our fingers from the ground. We can hold on to our elbows or just let our arms hang. And slightly bend those knees and just round. Good, and now let's release those hands down to the mat. So bending our knees if we need. We're going to keep our right hand on the floor. We're going to keep that right knee really, really bended very, very deeply. And then as we inhale, we're just going to lengthen this left leg. Raise the left hand up to the sky. Open up all along the outside of that left side. Think about lifting the hip up to the sky, pressing the heel down in toward the mat. And coming back down, take a breath in our fold. And then we'll switch sides. So left hand, We'll stay on the floor, bending that left knee, and begin to lengthen all along on the right-hand side. Lengthen in the leg, open up the shoulders, lift the fingers. And slowly we'll lower back down. Bending the knees if we need. Let's open up our feet, heel toe, a little bit wider than our hips, and we'll point the toes toward the corners of our room, and we'll lower our butts nice and low into a malasana squat. If we're having troubles with our flexibility, we can definitely do this up against the wall, or we can use a block underneath of our butts to help us with our balance, but we will still give us the benefits of this pose. Thinking about opening up the hips, but then also helping that low back. As we lift the heart, lower the butt, relax the shoulder. Good, and we'll lower those hands down. We'll help ourselves down onto our butts. Roll up into a little ball, and we'll rock back onto our backs. We can give ourselves a little massage, rocking forward and backwards. We can go side to side. Always listening to what our body needs. And then when we're ready, what we're going to do is we'll lengthen those legs. We're going to tuck this left leg underneath the right. And we're going to try and go knee to knee here in this cross. Bending the knees. We'll reach up and find the ankles or the feet. And as we exhale, we'll relax our shoulders into the mat. And we'll bring those feet in with us. This is another pose that works really well up against the wall, using the wall to help bring those legs where we want them. And then we'll release those legs back up to the sky, unwind, give ourselves a little wiggle, and we'll go the other side. So right leg underneath the left. Come up and find the ankles or the feet, keeping that tailbone pressing into our mat as we relax down. And we'll release those legs all the way up to the sky. Again, if we need, we can take a little wiggle. And then both feet reaching toward the sky, pressing those heels up to the sky. We'll reach with our fingers and roll around in the ankles and the wrists. Wiggle our fingers, wiggle our toes. For Krakalasana. And then exhale, slowly lowering our extremities back down to our mats. Once we get there, we'll take one more breath, make ourselves as long as we can. And then on the exhale, we'll release everything. Our hands can come to our sides, palms up. Our legs are soft. Our eyes are closed. We find our stillness. If we are ready, you don't have to be. Deepen our breath. begin to come back into our space. Becoming aware of our body again as we wiggle our fingers and our toes. When it is time, you can roll up into a ball, rock over onto our side, and slowly help ourselves up to seated. Bring our hands together at our hearts. And give ourselves thanks for all of the gifts that we just gave ourselves. Make sure that we hold on to all of the length and warmth, the connection that we've built with ourselves today. Peace in our mind that we achieved during our Shavasana. Thank you so much for joining me today, for sharing your time and allowing me to help you through your practice. I hope that you feel even just a little tiny bit better than when we started. I wish you a happy rest of your day. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each and every one of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.